Welcome to the show. It's Marshall Arnold. Thank you very much for tuning in. I have a special guest for us here today. This is the creator of a very awesome plugin that I use all the time in a lot of my musical productions. His name is Oleg Mikheev, and he is here and has taken his time to talk to us today about himself, about this awesome plugin that I love, and some of his musical background, some of the computer skills it took to create this wonderful VST. And so here he is. How you doing, Oleg?
I'm fine. Hi.
Hi, thank you very much for showing up and coming on the show. Like I said, I've been a big fan of BlueARP for a long time, so this is a big honor for me. And you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thanks. It's a pleasure for me too. It's actually my first time on someone's channel and kind of my first interview in this kind. I mean, regarding music and all this stuff. Yeah, some information about myself, I guess. Well, I'm an electronic engineer by design. I'd say 50-50 software developer and electronic engineer. So I know this stuff about PCB design and soldering and programming. But basically, my day job is quite far from that. I'm not a software developer. Well, don't want to much talk about this. Who wants to just find me on LinkedIn and figure out? Just want to say that my day job is not related to music and synthesizers, and it's just kind of my passion and labor of love, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, so since we're kind of talking about that, so I find that very interesting. So, like myself, like I'm not involved in the music industry other than from a very independent manner, you know what I'm saying? My day job is something technical, and then this is what I do, and pretty much my free time is YouTube videos about synthesizers, interviewing people, making music, all those kinds of things. So that is really cool. So we got some interesting commonalities there. But yeah, so in terms of musical background, so to create something that is a musical VST that works in the way BlueARP does, I'd imagine you'd have to have some musical background. Could you tell us a little bit about your background in music?
Yes, sure. I have no formal musical training, nothing. I just played a little bit of piano from my childhood, but it was just for fun. I have no formal training. And later I used arranger keyboards like this guy from Synthmania on your previous interview, and he told this arrangers taught him a lot of cool stuff. And the same with me. I mean, arrangers are great in terms of teaching you harmony and how different chord progressions work. I had Korg PA80, if I remember correct. This was quite a popular thing. Then PA500. So yeah, I had Korg arrangers and had a lot of fun with them. And then I switched to hardware synthesizers. But just before that, I think the same as you, I used computer a lot. Back in the day when I was kind of a student, I didn't have money to buy expensive stuff, and I used some software. I didn't try Reason, but it was Cakewalk, early versions, if you remember that.
Oh yeah, yep, I remember Cakewalk. It was on my radar at the time when I was getting into the software. The software is kind of how me personally I started into music. I heard this wonderful music called trance, and I was just obsessed with trying to figure out how to make it. And yeah, so I definitely remember Cakewalk and Fruity Loops and Acid. I don't know if you remember Acid. There was a host of these little programs that you could get and kind of get your appetite whetted, so to speak, right?
Yeah, and lots of time I was just kind of laying out notes with a mouse. It's pretty late when I got my first MIDI keyboard and started to learn how to play chords on the keyboard.
Yeah, same kind of thing here. Like I didn't have a keyboard, and in fact, my first application software program was a tracker. So I was physically programming notes in with the keyboard, the computer keyboard. And then with Reason, when I got that, it was all drawing in the sequences, very, very similar. And I got a MIDI keyboard like several years later and kind of went that route as well. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's also one story I want to tell. The first time I felt this connection between writing some piece of software and how it sounds. It's back in the day when I had DX 486, like 66 megahertz, something like that. And sound cards were hell expensive back then. I didn't have one. It was just PC speaker to play DOS games. Mm-hmm. And someone gave me the thing called Kovox speech thing, if I'm spelling correctly. It was kind of very simple sound card connected to LPT port. So it gave noisy, dirty 8-bit sound. Mm. Yeah, but you can, back in the day I could, we studied Borel and Pascal in the institute, so I had some programming skills. And I wrote a kind of simple synthesizer that could play, and I could play with it actually through this thing with just a computer keyboard.
So, and what year roughly was this?
What? Sorry.
What year was that about?
It was early 90s.
And in the 90s. I don't
remember exactly.
Okay.
And I should have these recordings on, somewhere on the cassette, and I have this kind of box with the old cassettes. It's pretty big, maybe 50 of them.
Wow.
I tried to find this record, but just couldn't. It takes too long time to listen through all the cassettes.
Right, and try and find where those recordings were put, basically.
Yeah, but yeah. I have quite a lot of recordings on the cassettes, because later when I used Cakewalk, I had a expensive sound card. It was Turtle Beach, something like Trope Plus, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
It has wavetable synthesis inside.
Yeah.
So you remember this OPL 2 and 3 kind of crappy music, which was in cheap sound cards back in the day.
Yep.
And this one was just perfect. It was very good sounding compared to that cheap FM synths. Yeah, and I used that a lot. I used some emulators, and I just played with MIDI files. I downloaded MIDI files everywhere and tried to change the sounds kind of in Cakewalk and recorded it into the cassette. So I have pretty a lot of these recordings.
Wow.
But it was just kind of messing with MIDI files. I didn't write any music back then.
Right, but you wrote the software to make a little synthesizer in something that essentially wasn't designed to operate that way initially, correct?
Yeah. It wasn't a VST. It was MS-DOS, just a software,
right.
A program in Borel and Pascal I wrote.
Yep.
Yeah, and it was just it was first time when I felt this fascination. Kind of, you write something, you code something, and you can hear it.
Yep, that way predates the VST days. So, yeah. So, so what was it that kind of, have you always been interested in electronic music, or what was your relationship with that genre, like the electronic genres or trance and things like that?
Well, I don't know exactly when it happened. I listened to different kind of music. It was rock, and it was electronic. It was all this stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but probably it's the fascination about the electronic sound, like especially the 80s music, the 90s music, when they used synthesizers a lot, and many synthesizers of that time, like Yamaha DX7, Roland D50, and others in analog stuff, they just sound so distinctive, so unique. So I just, one of the reasons is just I like this sound, this kind of sound.
So you gravitated towards the synthesizer sounds that you heard in the 80s.
Yeah, that's part of the story.
Yeah, cool.
And of course, I listen to the trance stuff. I have many, and still have many MP3s of State of Trance and Paul Van Dyke and stuff like that.
Yep.
I listen to that a lot, yeah, and try to figure out how it works.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and do you remember maybe somewhere in 90s there was a great software called the Dance Machine?
No, but
No?
in the 90s, I was, I loved music and stuff, but I had no outlet for it at the time. It wasn't until early 2000s when I was kind of out from my parents that I was able to explore that on my own. So in the 90s, I had heard dance music, but only the kind of stuff that they would play kind of on the pop radio, and but I was always, like you, very fascinated with the electronic sounds that I was hearing from the synthesizers and keyboards and things. Yeah, unfortunately, pre-1999, 2000-ish, yeah, I had no idea what was happening.
Yeah, this dance machine thing was pretty interesting. It worked. I had some kind of first generation Pentium back then, like 100 megahertz. And it was just on one CD, and it was like kind of like a tracker. So you had a building blocks of kind of wave files with bass, with vocals, with synth lines, kind of construction kit for a track, and you can lay them in different manner and see how it works. I mean, the idea is pretty simple, but back then it was just fascinating.
It would have been mind-blowing
to combine the tracks and to hear how it sounds.
Yeah, is it even like in the early days for me, right? It was. I mean, I think my first computer only had like a 2 gigabyte hard drive, like, you know. So to get all these wave files, like what you're talking about, with that program and multi-track them in real time, that would have been pretty amazing at the time, right?
Yeah, and later, I think, as many of us, I went the software route for a little bit. I tried different plugins, but at some point, yeah, and I used hardware synthesizers. I have a lot of early stuff on my YouTube channel with hardware synthesizers.
Yep.
Yeah, and I still love hardware synthesizers and this hardware workflow just for the feeling you get when you work with something physical.
Yep. So if you there'll be links in the description for everyone to check out the Grey Wolf 2004 RU YouTube page. This is where I'll like post all the updates on BlueARP, etc. But if we go back here, we got some old Chord Karma plus Novation Nova videos. There was one. Let's see. Yeah, Waldorf Micro Q, right? So yeah. So it's, you have some other things on your YouTube channel for some various synthesizers as well. But lately, it's about BlueARP, right?
Yeah, and regarding Novation Nova, just recently I got another one.
What? That is
It's
cool.
just in perfect condition because mine is pretty worn out.
Look at how tiny that is.
Yeah, it's not big.
Wow.
And it's just perfect.
Yeah, it looks like it's in very
only tiny scratches here and there, and
pristine.
It's just like new.
Is that rack mountable, or is that supposed to be a desktop?
Yeah. You can put these plastic things off, and there are rack ears for it.
Okay, cool. Wow. So we're gonna be seeing that hooked up to BlueARP here pretty soon in some videos.
Yeah, I think my next demonstration will be with this synth.
So and I see you use like a Korg Radius sometimes. Is that something that you currently have still?
Yeah, I still have it.
Yeah, the Radius is awesome. So speaking of which, since we're kind of talking about synthesizers and trance and some things like that, I just want to play a little bit of one of your videos here where you're kind of demonstrating some trance with BlueARP. So let me just play this. So this is one instance of BlueARP?
No, it's actually lots of them.
Lots of
Maybe
them.
8.
Okay. And then you're using the faders to pull in and out just the...
Yeah, I didn't have Launchpad back then, so I just used faders.
Yeah. And so you would have split different sections of BlueARP across the keybed? Were you doing splits and stuff in this?
Yeah, of course, I have split, but basically it's layered. So on my left hand there are several BlueARPs working.
Right.
And I just bring them up with the faders at some point.
And like that's a piano sequence there?
Yeah, and also you see this, sometimes I'm pressing these gray buttons, and what I do is I change BlueARP patterns this way.
Okay. God, that's beautiful. And this reminds me of the trance that I love. The trance music that got me into music sounds like this. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love this.
Yeah, that's why I think we call it classic trance, so it's kind of...
Yeah, was this a collaborative track by yourself and DJ Demonics?
Yeah, he gave me the FL Studio project, which probably he got from someone else, and I played it my way. So I converted it into this real-time performance.
Oh, okay. And yeah, that sounds just awesome. And the thing that really got me about BlueARP is you can perform like what sounds like awesome, amazing trance music live. And that's something I've been looking to try and figure out for years. And here it is with this awesome VST. So, and I made a video a while back with a Korg Radius where I did the similar thing where I've got several instances of BlueARP running in left hand, right hand arpeggiator sequences. Yours is definitely more complex, but I was featuring all voices on the Radius in my video, so I would have done something more elaborate at the time, but because it was just kind of like, here's what the Radius sounds like if you use just a 4-port multi-timbral and with some BlueARP, and it sounded really good still.
Yeah, but it takes time. Just have a guess. How much time did I spend to make my Magic Scales Part 1 or Part 3 performance?
Right, so Magic Scales... We have that one here. Let me play this one. So this is the Part 2. Yeah, how long did this take?
Yeah, you chose Part 2. Well, my personal favorite is Part 3, and it took me around 1 month and a half to prepare it, to rehearse it.
Well, then let's find Part 3.
Not every day, of course. Evenings, weekends, but it takes a lot of time to make this kind of elaborate performance.
Let me see if I can find Part 3 here.
Part 3 is somewhere on the top. It's pretty recent, I think. Exercise. Part 2. So Part 3. Listen, here is it. No, upper, just next to it.
Oh, this one, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
This one is Part 3. Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah. So I'm sorry.
I'm using Launchpad, and all the controls on this Korg Nano control, and Kurzweil PC3LE is just a keyboard, nothing else.
Wow. And that's again, you're fading in the audio with that there, right? The little controller here.
Yeah, the idea and the workflow is pretty the same between all Magic Scales.
You're just triggering. You're triggering some of the one-shot sounds and sweeps and stuff with the Launchpad.
Yeah, correct.
Cool. Yeah, because that adds the transitional stuff into the track.
And when I switch BlueARP patterns, I'll press the buttons on this nano control.
So then, are the sounds coming from all VSTs on the computer?
Yeah, it's all VSTs.
Okay.
It's Sylamp 1, which I still love, one of my favorite VSTs. And the others are free stuff like, I don't remember, maybe PG8X, SQ8L. I think I have them in the description, I mean, VST list I use.
Yeah, SQ8L. It just popped up. Yeah, that sounds good. And the ability to be able to switch patterns adds variation so that it's not just a static performance, and then being able to stack multiple instances of BlueARP, and you can go bananas. That's why I love it.
Yeah, here I have kind of four musical pieces which I switched during the performance. Oh, I love this bass line. It's just straight 1/8 bass, but sounds so good.
Yeah, it's very Italo disco, similar to that. Yeah. Those pads, man, those are good. Sorry. So yeah, let's see, what else do we have here? So trance music. So you're I'm sorry, would you say Paul Van Dyk? And who were some of your trance influences?
Well, maybe I don't remember all the names, but I listened to a lot of State of Trance, and it's lots of good stuff there.
Yes. Yep. So currently, synthesizers that you own. We talked a little bit about that, but can you give us a rundown of some of the hardware that you have?
I don't have much right now. I have Cork Radius, have Novation Nova. I still have MPC 500 for the drums.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I have this Kurzweil PC3LE. It's just a big keyboard. I use it to play the piano sometimes. And that's pretty it. I also have this Mono Lancet thing. It's just
interesting.
A mono synth.
Yeah,
German made.
Wow, I've never seen one of those. Holy crap! So it's a mono synth.
Yeah, it's very straightforward. It doesn't have any presets. You just tweak it.
Yeah, it's kind of like what's that Moog one? Moog has like a little, the Minotaur, something like that.
Yeah, people say it's has kind of Moogish character of sound, so it's has a close resemblance to Moog. Yeah, also I have this Motive XS rack. I use sometimes. It has the best guitars I heard from the synth ever. You can check on my channel. There is a video called Sunday Blues Exercise when I have guitar from Motive and I'm jamming over it.
Oh, nice. And that's from the Motif? Was that a Yamaha? Right?
Yeah, it's Yamaha. Correct.
One of my subscribers was telling me about that synth. That is a expensive guy. But you said it's got some fantastic sounding guitars.
Yeah, I'd say it's not for electronic music, but you can use some sounds from it.
Yeah,
and it's great for live instruments, and it has a VST plugin to control it, so you can use it inside the DAW. Yeah, here
is this the
I
one?
use. Well, I was talking about another one, but here I play too. Yeah, it's guitars from Motif.
From the Motif. Very cool.
Somewhere from the middle it starts sounding better, because here I'm just fooling around.
Yeah. Sounds like some good strumming. And plucking. Yeah, that one sounds really nice. And you're just controlling the sequencing through BlueARP.
Yeah.
Man. So it's not just for electronic music, people. Well, I mean, yeah, you can make pop music with it. I guess not for just like techno trance stuff. Very cool. Is there any synthesizers that you have on your list of I want to get this and hopefully I'll get one soon kind of thing?
Yeah, I guess we all have this gas thing to some extent.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't have a special room stockpiled with synthesizers as you. Just probably I'll have a rack.
You don't have one of these?
Some point. yeah.
This is I sleep on the floor in the other room. No, I have a bed, but yeah, I use a tiny room to sleep in. So this is my master bedroom. If I had a wife, I'm sure she'd kill me.
So I'm trying to keep my setup pretty lightweight and minimalistic. Probably I'll get a couple of the boutiques at some point.
Those are great.
You told you enjoy them.
Oh, I love these things. And I've just completed the collection, so I have all of the ones that they have created so far. This one is one of my favorites, the TR-09. I love this thing. But yeah, the boutiques are great, and they're very small footprint, lightweight, and they are not super expensive, especially if you get them secondhand, unless it's like one of the ones that they've canceled production on. But so cool. So let's talk a little bit about your computer science background. So you say you're not a computer programmer as your profession, right? So we talked a little bit about the little synthesizer that you programmed for an old 90s computer. Was that the start of you getting into software and programming on a computer?
I'm not sure it was my first program. I wrote some stuff before that, but I think nothing serious. So probably, yeah, it was the start of making something that really works, kind of complete synth. Later, I remember I was around maybe 22 in the institute. I had kind of a work I did there. It wasn't the graduate work, but some kind of project, a student project, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And I used Delphi back then. It was kind of the success of Borel and Pascal. And I created a speech synthesizer. It was pretty simple, not as advanced as today's Google and stuff. Yeah, but I really made it from scratch. So it was sample based. I recorded my own voice, all the combinations of letters, and I sampled that. I chopped them into some wave editor, load them into my program, and it synthesized kind of with my robotic voice. It could spell some text.
So it's like a speak and read or speak. I don't know if you guys had those over there, but in the United States, when I was a kid in the 80s, we had some of those learning machines, and there's one in particular that's become very popular with circuit bending, which I have. I don't know where it is right now, but it's basically a vocalized synthesizer. and you can spell words, and it'll read stuff back to you. Is that kind of what you made?
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's kind of what I made in software form.
Wow. That's amazing.
And it's a bad thing that I lost this software, because at some point something happened to my computer due to the virus or hardware failure. I lost my entire hard drive contents.
Oh no.
So I don't have it anymore.
Oh man, I know the feeling. I have a couple of hard drives that I have lost some projects on that I wish I still had. So yeah, that's data backup is important, folks.
Yeah, but anyway, this experience is still with me, so
yeah,
it's not that bad.
So, so from going from something like a vocal synthesizer, what gave you the idea to create a VST arpeggiator?
I think it was when I played with this bunch of hardware synthesizers, and Novation Nova in particular. It has some arpeggiator built inside, and these arrangers, and I had this Quasi-MIDI Cyrus, which has quite a good sequencer. And while I played with this stuff, I just wanted this simple thing to have kind of key altering arpeggiator, when you can say that I have 16 steps, and for this step I want to play a key 1 from the chord I press, here key 2, here key 3, here I want to transpose down 1 octave. So I didn't, not just simple transpose up and down like many synths do, and kind of this simple thing you cannot find in the arrangers. They do a little different thing. They kind of harmonize the pattern you play, but I wanted kind of more straightforward approach. Just say it K1, 2, 3 and order and place them in the way I want. So it's kind of you may call it kind of programming mindset in music. So I wanted to program the pattern this way and to make it predictable. So yeah, and then I came to the idea, maybe I'll try to make some VST of this kind. And I didn't know how to program VSTs back then, and there was a tool called SynthMaker. Yeah, SynthMaker. You know, there is SynthEdit stuff, and SynthMaker was somewhere of that kind of software solution that allow you to create a VST without programming. It kind of was visual programming when you have different boxes and you connected them in a certain way. Probably it's something made with SynthMaker, yeah, not the SynthMaker itself.
Okay.
And now they're called Flowstone. They changed the name and kind of changed their main sales points. So now they position themselves as a tool for creating some robotic stuff, smart home, this kind of stuff. But anyway, yeah, I have a prototype of BlueARP made in this SynthMaker thing, but I couldn't quite get something related to timing was wrong here, and I just couldn't work around that. So at some point I had a working prototype, and I decided to try to make a VST. And really, it's a long story, because BlueARP I have now, it's created with Visual C++, and I use the library called WDL-OL, developed by the British guy, if I'm not mistaken. Oliver Larkin is his name. Yeah, and some other plugins use this library. It's great, and it saved me a lot of time. But before, I reworked BlueARP several times just to get to this point, because first I made it in this SynthMaker, then I created it, kind of refactored the whole thing and programmed it in Boral and Delphi. And then I migrated to another version of Delphi to make it 64 bits compatible. And then I migrated it to Visual C and rewrote the whole thing to make it possible to run on OS X. And then I reworked the whole thing to make make it compatible with the hardware. So it was just hell a lot of reworking.
Yeah, over and over, just the steps progression through from not knowing anything about how to, well, not anything, you knew how to do some things program wise, but creating a VST was a whole new thing for you. And then so starting
Correct.
small within kind of a self-contained thing with sounds like some limitations that forced you to kind of go outside of that into actual program language, and yeah, it just evolved from there. So this video here, I've got a video right here with this is the earliest version of BlueARP video I can find on here, and this is from 2012. So is this was this a Delphi version then? This was when it was out. People could have downloaded this then.
Yeah, it was Delphi version. It was 32 bits only at that point.
Gotcha. And you definitely could see some changes. You've added a lot of features over the years to this synthesizer. There's several more pages over here of options. But it still worked great. Like just watching your tutorial video here, it shows the possibilities of what this could do even back then.
Yeah, and the main idea is still the same. I'm pretty sure. It's just kind of adding bells and whistles.
Right. So the BlueARP. So this was what version would you say this version here was? Was this a 1.0 or something?
Well, I don't remember the numbering, but it was the first Delphi version, which I. So before that was this synth maker prototype, which wasn't quite working. Yeah, and this thing was pretty stable when I released it.
So in BlueARP today, what release is out now? Let's check your website. BlueARP download. So here's I'll have links to the website here. It's graywolf2004.net. You guys can go and download BlueARP. Be sure to if you enjoy it, maybe pitch Oleg a donation over here. Help him support this project because I think it's fantastic. So yeah, let's see. So 2.2.5 is what's currently available now. And what was new in this build?
I think the main thing was just I enhanced the interface, because at one point I had too much stuff. I couldn't fit it on one screen, so I made this page system, and there were quite a lot of complaints from people about that. They don't want to switch between pages, and they want everything on one screen. So I just enhanced the interface, made it a little bigger, which is not the problem with today's monitors, which are everyone has full HD these days, so it's not a problem to make it a little bigger. So I did this.
Nice. So future plans for BlueARP? I know that I've seen some instances where there might be a hardware version. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, of course. This is what takes most of my free time the last couple of years. And I have this thing sitting on my table.
Oh my gosh, look at that.
Yeah.
That looks so pretty.
So it's it's the second prototype, and I still have some flaws in the design, and I'll fix them in the next in my next build. But well, I hope the appearance is more or less what will be the first public release to the customers. Maybe I'll change some buttons arrangement, but I mean the size, all the appearance will be.
So is
something like this?
It's fully functional as the VST, but you can physically connect your hardware. You can take this out anywhere and you've basically got a hardware version of BlueARP, correct?
Yeah, correct. And the thing, well, I'm proud of most about this thing is that it runs basically the same C code. It shares the same code base with the plugin.
Oh, nice. Any updates that you do to the plugin, so the code can be updated on that?
Yeah, functional wise, if I add some feature, I add it for both hardware and software. Of course, they have different parts relating GUI and handling the hardware registers and libraries, but the core functionality is the same. It's shared between the plugin and the hardware version.
Oh,
and I had it was another reworking. I mean, initially I had I had it in C++, and I rewrote it in plain C to make it possible.
Wow. So let's check this out. I've got a little bit of a video of Rev 3. It's a little demo that you did with the hardware.
Yeah, it's my recent.
So right now, what is playing? Is it the Radius over here?
Yeah, it's all Radius and Radius, bass line from Mono Lancet, and drums.
So no computer at all here, folks.
Correct.
And then on the SD card here, what is on that?
SD card is just for loading banks and presets.
Okay.
Yeah, you can save preset on software BlueARP and load it in hardware.
That's
They're fully compatible in this way.
Okay. I want 2 of them. I want 2 of these. So bad. Oh, this is cool. This is the dream here. To be able to take something like this out, no computer, and here it is. Like,
well, basically, I'm doing my best to finish all the core functionality and have the fully working prototype till next SuperBooth in Berlin. It will be in May next year, I believe.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Are you planning to release a kit, or is this something that you're hoping to produce and sell as a complete package there with the case and everything?
I think it will be complete package because I don't want to have a risk with this DIY stuff because it's not easily solderable everywhere, though I try to make it solderable by hand because I use pretty large SMD components because I don't have perfect vision myself and I can solder it without any problems.
Yeah. Is this something...
But probably the most expensive thing is the enclosure.
Sure.
Which was a surprise to me. Yeah, and you dealt with 3D printing, and you know, FDM printing is pretty cheap, but it's not precise enough to make this enclosure. And here I used this SLS printing, selective laser sintering, and it's pretty expensive. So I am basically looking for the ways to make the enclosure cheaper, and maybe as an option I'll sell just a sandwich board without the enclosure and let the customer print the enclosure themselves.
So yeah, so a completed circuit board ready, just needing a case, right?
Yeah, it's just one of the options I have in mind. If I find a good way to produce them in decent quantities, I mean the enclosures, and something like molding, I'll go that path, of course.
Yeah, molding.
Or maybe I'll have to redesign the enclosure to make it manufacturable, because it's always pain to make something manufacturing friendly. It's one thing to make a single prototype, another thing to manufacture them in dozens at least.
Yep, even in small numbers. I did that for a long time before I got into my technical field that I'm in now. I was in manufacturing. I worked in a machine shop, and we would do small prototype and small production runs at our shop. So we were always doing different stuff. But quantities like under 100 usually was the type of things that we would make. And so for something like this, I don't know that it would necessarily be worth having a mold created, because molds are very expensive usually to make. But once you have them, you could make thousands and thousands of the enclosures. But that upfront cost is high on that as well. So that is a difficult thing. I can see that being a problem. But I think even if, like you said, if you made an option where you sold the completed circuit board, everything's on it, you just need to either buy a case or print a case, the community will make that. Like, I'll make one, I'm sure, and other people will have things available for people to either print. People will come up with creative ideas to make them out of other materials, maybe metal, who knows. So that's definitely an option as well, and I don't think that would limit anything, especially at this stage. But I have a feeling you take this to SuperBooth next year, you're gonna have a lot of interest.
My current my main thing is to finish all the stuff on the software side. That's what I'm doing currently, and I plan to spend a couple of hours today and several hours tomorrow, like implementing all the stuff. I spent 2 months implementing USB MIDI functionality. It was just real pain. A lot of manuals, a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Now I'm finishing this MIDI sync thing. I'm connecting BlueARP to MIDI clock source, and it sends MIDI clocks. And when you create this stuff, there's nothing ready. You need to program everything. Like sending MIDI clocks, syncing to MIDI clock, and all this stuff.
One question I have, and it's just out of curiosity. So, the design of the PCB, is that something that you came up with, or are you using, how does that process work for the actual circuit board?
Yeah, I designed the PCB. Basically, the only thing, this STM32 processor is. It has quite small pitch between the pins, so my soldering skill aren't that good to solder it. So I use kind of a small board like this size. Probably I have one here, and I can show it. And just it's mounted on the big PCB, and everything else is just I designed it myself. Well, probably not here. Just 1 second. Oh yeah, here is the board I use.
And that plugs into your.
Yeah. It plugs into my PCB, so it has the CPU and some memory and some other memory. So it even has 16 megs, if I'm correct, of this chip. 16 megs of flash memory, so it can be built-in storage for the banks.
Oh, nice.
Now I use just SD card. At some point, probably I'll make the whole design on one board. So I'll try to solder the chip there. It's just I'm trying to solve complex things step by step, so now it's easier for me.
One problem at a time.
Yeah. But all the high frequencies are on this tiny board, and if you're into electronic engineering, you know that it's pain to design PCB for high frequency stuff.
Yeah, is that how you get that hum that you hear a lot? And like if you plug into a sound card in a computer and you get that very distinct.
Yeah, but even worse, if you have wrong design, it just doesn't work at all.
Oh boy.
Yeah, so so what I have on my main PCB, it's everything has pretty low frequency. I think it's far below, I think several megahertz at most. So it's not that critical.
Right. It's a solid design.
Yeah, but it was really learning curve to figure out all these different kinds of software. And one thing about that is that everything I used to design BlueARP hardware, probably except one program, is everything is free.
So you designed the PCB, the layout of all the components, everything, the enclosure, all that stuff with using free tools?
Yeah, correct.
Wow. And you doing it from your house? That's amazing.
And yeah, we can share my screen for a little bit.
Sure.
I prepared a little demonstration here. So yeah, this is the 3D model of the whole thing.
Wow.
Yeah, just before I created the first prototype, I assembled the whole thing in 3D. It's necessary just to make sure that everything is correct, no intersections between the components. And there is an interesting thing like clipping plane here, for example, so you can see what's inside.
Yep. And you can.
So this is how I check that everything laid out correctly. And here I can switch off, for example, different components and see what's inside. This is the sandwich board itself, how it looked like without the enclosure.
Yeah, wow.
So here we have SD card, this CV gate outputs, one audio input, yeah,
Oh,
4
so
MIDI outputs.
So it'll have CV out as well, so you can presumably hook this up to modulars?
Yeah, there are 4 controlled voltage outputs. So basically now they produce from 0 to plus 10 volts, something like that. But later I realized I made a mistake. I'll bet I need to make them like from -5 to +5. Yeah, so I'll probably redesign that. And I have 4 MIDI outs. That was really difficult to kind of squeeze all these ports into this small size. Yeah, and I especially tried to fit my design into 20 by 20 centimeters because all the cheap 3D printers, they have this printing area restriction, like 20 by 20. So it will be possible to print the enclosure with any consumer-grade FDM 3D printer.
And you can do it with in a single print, right? So like it would be a top and bottom half, but you could fit it all onto the bed and not have to break the model up and do separate pieces, right?
So we can look at the enclosure. These are displays, and this is. So it's pretty complicated, but I printed it. It works okay. The only problem is that you had with your DJ table 3D print, like it shrinks in the size. But if you compensate that by scaling the model, I think it will be okay.
Yep, and a lot of that, like, so I know my printers pretty well, so I usually know how much they're going to shrink. But initially, what someone can do if they're not familiar with how that works, you could print something, just print it at normal settings, see how it is, take some measurements, and then compensate with the model. That's a nice workaround for that. And if you only do, say you did it for like the bottom half of this, it doesn't seem like it's a huge amount of plastic. It's just more the area that it has. But you do half of it, make sure it fits, or compensate, print it again, make sure that fits, and then apply those same settings to the other half, and there you go. I was going to ask you though. So you've decided to put full-size MIDI DIN ports, which I love that. I appreciate that very much, and I know that's not easy to fit into a small package. But had you considered going with the MIDI 3.5 to MIDI at all? Was that something that crossed your mind?
Yeah. I also have the thread for BlueARP hardware on KVR, and someone gave me that suggestion to make this small 3.5 jacks for MIDI ports, but I tried my best to go with DIN5s because it's standard, it's kind of old school, it's more convenient to use, and anyway I kind of squeezed out of this chip the best I could, because if I wanted fifth MIDI out, I just couldn't do that because there are it won't be enough of pins or on chip devices.
Right.
And I think four MIDI out ports is pretty enough.
That's definitely enough, I think.
Yeah, and, some people told me, why didn't you bother about adding more MIDI out ports? Just add one and use MIDI splitter. But if you know the technical basics, MIDI interface, it's a serial interface with a pretty low baud rate.
Right.
It's 31.5 kilohertz. If you used to have kind of modems back in the day, dial-up, I mean, it's MIDI is the speed of dial-up. It's the speed of good dial-up, so to speak. So if you have several channels and sending a lot of notes simultaneously, you'll have the delays inevitably, because it takes some time to transmit data over the MIDI.
So you run into the latency issues that you would run into. Like I run into this all the time using a bunch of USB devices, and you run into latency. But with this, it's with the actual note transmission and receive and sends from the instruments.
Yeah, but if you have separate MIDI ports, and because the CPU is quite fast, you won't run into this issue. Yeah, so that's why I did as much as possible. Today, many small synths, they do not have MIDI through, like in the old days. So if you take Korg Volcas, for example, they don't have MIDI through, and if you want to use one of these, it will eat up one MIDI port.
These don't have it either. They've got in and out. I don't know if you can set the out to be a through. I think that's an option on some things where they only have two. But yeah, I miss. I've been working on my whole setup in here, doing a huge MIDI wire up, and it's not easy because some of the synths don't have through, and you got to think about how the chain's gonna go. But definitely excited to see that you did put 4 full-size MIDI ports on this. I think that's amazing.
Correct.
Plus CV.
4 MIDI outs.
Yeah. And so
and two MIDI ins, and my probable preferred workflow with this thing, that I'll use it either as a clock source or a MIDI slave. And if it's MIDI slave, you can connect, for example, your drum machine to MIDI in, and it will receive the clock. And you connect MIDI keyboard to another MIDI in, and it will receive the notes. And moreover, you can connect something like Korg Nano Control to USB, and it will be able to automate something.
Oh wow! So you could plug a controller directly into the BlueARP and control different MIDI CC on the synth.
It has USB port, both to computer and to connect.
Look at that! So you've got A and B USB
device.
Connectivity on there. Wow!
And it was real pain to make it work. I just can't explain how much pain was it. 2 months of tries and fails, but finally I succeeded in that.
Well, you're going to have some unique functionality available on this that I don't think is available at this moment in hardware form. So that's super exciting, and again, just shows the potential that there is. And I think the software BlueARP, I love that. I use it all the time. And the hardware BlueARP is even more interesting, I think, because it has all of these additional things that you don't have to worry about plugging around a computer. You know, you can plug all your stuff into that for control, basically, and you're good. That's your computer, basically. Your arpeggiator, sequencer, all that stuff. It's basically everything interacts with that one. That'd be the brain of a show, basically, right?
Well, yeah, it can be either the brain or you can use it with another sequencer because it can slave to MIDI device or it can be master device. So yeah, it can be different workflows. I mean, so
Yeah, it's flexible, definitely. Well, that is amazing, Oleg. I'm very excited for you. I'm very excited about BlueARP and the future of BlueARP. Be sure, folks, to check out Oleg's YouTube channel. Links in the description. Be sure to check out the KVR forum page. I'll have links to that, and of course, join the Facebook group. The same that Oleg is wearing on his shirt there, and we'll have links to
oh yeah. I forgot to say about that.
Yes.
This is my friend with nickname DJ Demonix. He's from France. He made it for me. And basically, we had that gig in the cafe in it's Brest. It's a city in France where we did this gig, and it was well, not the first of my gigs, but I have really few in my life, so I don't gig often. So yeah, we played and it was fun.
Oh yeah, you guys had the.
That's one of the reasons I'm trying to keep my setup minimalistic to make it possible to carry it in the bag, because you can't take the whole bunch of rack mount synths with you, but you can take, for sure, you can take Novation Nova, you can take some boutiques.
Yes, you could take a lot of small synths with you, or a handful of large synths, unless you're Kebu. I don't know how I don't know how he takes all those vintage analog synths all over. But it's got to be a huge pain. So definitely keeping things compact and small is a benefit for live. So he was that Blaze Studios that had that video of you and DJ Demonix playing with BlueARP? I think it is. I was just gonna.
Yeah, he plays BlueARP, of course, and. Yeah, and but regarding that performance, as I remember, he played some of his things, I played my things, and when we played this Magic Scales, I think one of my best performances, I was basically switching patterns and playing chords, and he was taking care of all the effects, tweaks, filter cutoff, so all the knobs basically. We decided to split it that way.
I don't see the performance, unfortunately. I'll have to put a link to that. Yeah, I don't see it on his video list here. I can't remember what channel that was on.
I think there is a link in the chat if you look there, because I sent it before.
Yeah, unfortunately that's on the video PC. So that's recording. It's not something I can play through, unfortunately, right now. So yeah, we'll have to put a link to that, because we've got Oleg on there jamming out with BlueARP live on stage. It's very cool. Definitely check it out, everyone. So Oleg, was there anything else you wanted to talk about or mention here about your project, or just anything in general?
Well, basically, I can talk about BlueARP for hours. But yeah, I think we just have some time limits and have to stop at some point. But yeah, to summarize it, I'm currently I'm doing my best to complete the BlueARP prototype till next SuperBooth. I'm not sure I'll be ready for serial manufacture, and probably I will. I don't know. I'm just trying to to make things step by step, because if you think of this huge amount of work you still have to do, it kind of demotivating. So yeah, I'm trying to make it step by step. I know what my next step is. Currently, it's to finish all the MIDI clock functionality, so to make BlueARP reliably work as a MIDI slave and MIDI clock source. And then I have lots of other stuff, and yeah, the final goal is to make it ready for serial manufacturing. And still, I'm trying to take some time to work on the plugin, not as much as before, but yeah, my current the next thing in my to-do list for the plugin is to make it to pass MIDI CC messages through, because some people complain about that. I mean, if you have some controller and a synth and it just it filters out all the MIDI CC messages, so I'll make it configurable in the next version.
Yeah, and that's going to add just that extra layer of control that's necessary. Well, not necessarily necessary, but it's definitely very beneficial to have on a device like that. So, yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah, and just even when I'm kind of thinking of the huge amount of work I did already to make this prototype work, I really wonder how I managed to do that. That's a lot of work in just 2 years. I mean, having all the day job I have, because I didn't leave my day job. It was just weekends and vacations and nights.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah. The same of us. Many of us musicians have this lack of sleeping when.
Oh yeah, I don't know if you could see the dark circles. I guess not enough sleep because there's not enough hours to do everything sometimes, but it's still fun. And you know, you should be very proud of like just even looking back at the progression over on your YouTube channel from your earliest BlueARP video to now we've got hardware BlueARP on the horizon. You've come a huge distance in not a huge amount of time, and again, doing this while having a full-time job, you know, any kind of family stuff, hopefully having some kind of social engagement every now and then, social life, you know, have a little bit of fun. It's very impressive and super amazing, and I really appreciate you coming in and sharing all this information with myself and with the viewers of the channel here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. It's kind of my first interview, and I'm excited about it too.
Yeah. Then again, this is the first time I've interviewed anyone who's worked on a VST. So we've had Mr. Paulo from Synthmania on, who's just a synth guru. We've had Adamski on, who's a DIY synth builder, and now Oleg, you've been on here, which has been just fantastic and very fascinating. Is the computer aspect and programming. I've got some knowledge enough to be dangerous with some C# programming, but like this just blows my mind what you've been able to accomplish here with this on your own. It's pretty fantastic.
Thanks.
Well, I guess
yeah, and probably.
Sorry, go ahead.
I don't know how it will go. Yeah, regarding BlueARP. Anyway, yeah, as I said, my goal is to do my best till next SuperBooth. And then maybe, I don't know, because now I have a day job, I have kind of bills to pay, and I am, yeah.
Is this something that you've considered doing a crowdfunding for, like a Kickstarter type campaign?
Yeah, I think maybe somewhere next year when I have a really working prototype, at that time I'll consider some crowdfunding, and I hope to make some savings back then, like a backup, because you know, when you quit your day job, you need some savings, and it's a venture anyway. Yeah, I know that many people will like BlueARP and probably will buy it, but it won't be thousands, because it's pretty niche product. I think it's for this group of hardware lovers. Who just enjoy playing hardware synths, and not all of them, because I have certain idea of workflow which which is not perfect for anyone, but I think for some people it will work. Yeah, but anyway, my plan is to make them, even it will be just dozens of units. I'm gonna make them anyway. But if it will be more and if it goes well, then yeah, I will consider kind of leaving my day job and going into that and probably making something else. Who knows?
Well, if you do start a crowdfunding Kickstarter campaign, something like that, be sure to let me know. I'll definitely be one of the backers on that. I'll help spread the word on the channel. I'll let folks know when that's happening. And of course, you folks can go over to the Grey Wolf YouTube channel, where you can see what the latest happenings are with BlueARP and the hardware version and the software version and everything else. So we'll have links in the description for that. So please do check that out. So, Oleg, I think that's going to do it for the show here today. I really appreciate you coming in and again sharing your background and your experience with this project, where it's at, where it's going. Again, I just thank you so much for putting all this time into this this product that I personally enjoy a lot, and I'm sure I'm not the only one.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure to be here. And yeah, I wish all the best for your channel. I watched some of your videos, and you had great interviews with this guy from Synthmania and this other guy who made his DIY synth. And yeah, hope you'll have more of musical people on your channel.
Definitely.
In the future.
Definitely will. All right, folks. Well, that's going to do it here today. Thank you again, and I'll be back soon. But goodbye.